New York City will soon bring new technology to detect weapons into the subway system. Mayor Eric Adams, along with the MTA and NYPD,
expect to start seeing hundreds of National Guard members throughout the subway system conducting random bag checks.
Before this type of technology can be tested and used in our city to help keep New Yorkers safe.
Anyone looking to do harm or spread fear on our subways, you will be caught.
Mayor Adams touting significant progress when it comes to subway safety, but even though the crime numbers are down, some riders say they still don't feel safe.
Gun detection technology. Mayor Eric Adams declared on Thursday that in an effort to reassure commuters following a fatal pushing incident earlier this week, New York City would be testing weapons detection equipment in its subway system. At a press briefing, Mr. Adams stated that the technology experiment would launch in a few stations over the course of many months as they had been disturbed by a number of high-profile instances of crime recently. According to Mr. Adams, the new technology will be unveiled in collaboration with the Massachusetts startup Evolve Technology. Clarifying the mayor's previous remarks, a city spokeswoman stated that the announcement was intended to be an open call to any company with similar products and that the city had no contract with Evolve. According to a person engaged in the discussions, Evolve expressed worries to City Hall in 2022 that its technology could result in jams if deployed in the subway station. My understanding of technology is that its initial iteration is still improving, Mr. Adams stated in response to inquiries from the media on Thursday. The metal detectors that are frequently seen at baseball stadiums and courthouses resemble the devices made by Evolve. According to the manufacturer, the gadgets can identify weapons because they're programmed with the signatures of particular objects. According to Mr. Adams, random acts of violence play on the psyche of New York. We're going to change in a way that makes sure technology gets integrated into the public safety system. However, proponents of civil rights questioned whether adding more monetary technology to a transportation system that already had hundreds of cameras, along with bag checks manned by National Guard members and police officers, was a necessary response to safety concerns. Furthermore, a few tech specialists claimed that the mayor's machines were untrustworthy.
New York City will soon bring new technology to detect weapons into the subway system. Mayor Eric Adams, along with the MTA and NYPD.
The mayor said the devices could help New Yorkers feel safer after a number of high-profile incidents.
Before this type of technology can be tested and used in our city to help keep New Yorkers safe.
But critics say the system could trigger false alarms and pushes the envelope of surveillance technology.
While it can't keep you safe, technology is guaranteed to slow down your commute, stated Albert Foxconn, executive director of the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project, a New York-based human rights and privacy organization. The technical team of Evolve is working with the NYPD security experts to understand how and where our technology can be best used to align with their security and operations objectives, according to Alexandra Smith-Ozerkus, a spokeswoman for the business. Continues to improve both in its detection and its ability to operate in more challenging environments, the speaker continued. The gadget's exorbitant price was pointed out by Nikita Ermolayev, a researcher with the Pennsylvania-based Surveillance Industry Association, IPVM. Over a 4-year lease, the cost of leasing a single apartment can reach up to $125,000, he said. He went on to say that in contrast, traditional metal detectors are usually available for less than $10,000 each. The amount that city officials plan to spend on the pilot program wasn't disclosed on Thursday. The new program was announced a few days after a man was killed in East Harlem after he was pushed in front of a train. Carlton McPherson, 24, the guy accused of carrying out the attack, had a past of using violence against people, and according to his family, he suffered from mental illness. In addition, the mayor said during the press conference on Thursday that the city will soon start hiring clinicians as part of a $20 million state commitment to place teams of mental health experts across the subway system.
Bold announcement after a series of violent attacks on the subway in recent weeks that left riders uneasy.
I feel safe in the system because I know how it plays on your psyche when you hear about some random acts of violence.
It will be working to identify companies that are proven to have weapons detection technology.
But we have to live life the way it is and work to make it what it ought to be.
We could do more to prevent these types of incidents.
Mr. Adams emphasized that there was little risk of being a victim in the tube. The city subway system, which sees 4 million people on a daily average, has about 6 felonies every day, according to Mr. Adams, but if they don't feel safe, we're not accomplishing our task. According to police data, overall offenses in the subway have increased by 4% so far this year when compared to the same period last year. The number of homicides in the system decreased to 5 from 10 in the year prior. Leaders in cities and states, however, have frequently stated that they care just as much about public perceptions of safety as they do about real crime statistics. An altercation on an A train earlier this month became violent when one man shot the other man in the head after stealing his revolver from him. A Brooklyn subway worker was knifed to demise at the Rockaway Avenue station last month. Enhanced subway safety. Advocates for public transportation express support for the trial. Riders will gain peace of mind if technology can help keep weapons off platforms and trains without delaying service, a big if, stated Danny Pearlstein, a spokesman for the New York advocacy group Riders Alliance. The most recent high-tech idea Mr. Adams has revealed to address concerns about public safety is the gun detection project. Since assuming office, the mayor, who prides himself on being a computer geek, has extended the use of drones, revealed a robot to guard Times Square, and braggingly mentioned the employment of a robotic dog by the city to help in emergencies. Last year, the Legal Aid Society requested an investigation into the police department's use of surveillance technologies, claiming that it was in violation of a local rule requiring it to report the use of new technology and data protection measures. The administration's persistent reliance on technology to handle safety, according to Jerome Greco, supervising attorney with the group's digital forensics branch, is misguided, costly, and creates significant invasions of privacy, he said in a statement on Thursday. With the mayor's statement on Thursday, a mandated 90-day waiting period to gather public feedback on the new technology and its intended usage began. Mr. Adams stated that the guidelines governing the use of the new surveillance gear were made available online by city officials on Thursday. After the waiting period, officials stated the devices would be deployed. The disclosure made by Mr. Adams on Thursday represents the most recent phase of a large-scale endeavor to maintain system security.
Mayor Eric Adams says he wants to bring gun-detecting body scanners into the city's subway system.
Mayor Adams says the city is getting ready to deploy a new mobile weapons detection system underground.
Electromagnetic weapons detection systems here in New York City
Have now filed online a report on these new body scanners, which will scan people entering the subway system for guns.
Mayor Adams touting significant progress when it comes to subway safety, but even though the crime numbers are down, some riders say they still don't feel safe.
In order for New York to recover from the pandemic, the subway is essential. Because of this, officials have prioritized the needs of riders, putting in place a constant stream of law enforcement officers, mental health professionals, and security cameras during the previous 2 years. Thousands of law enforcement officers, including city police officers, state police troopers, and members of the National Guard, guard the underground. When authorities deployed an additional 1,000 officers earlier this year, they nearly increased the number of officers working 1,200 daily overtime stints within the underground. Moreover, this month saw the addition of 1,000 more National Guard members, state troopers, and transit officials. This week saw the addition of 800 more police officers. Teams of medical professionals have been dispatched to assist the homeless and, in some cases, forcibly remove them from the underground. Additionally, thousands more security cameras have been added to the system in the last 2 years, bringing the total to roughly 16,000 units. According to MTA authorities, all train cars will have them by the end of this year. In an effort to provide passengers a sense of security, transit officers have also added structural elements. Officials intend to add brighter lights to the system to help make it feel less cramped and to assist the subway cameras catch better videos. They're also testing new price gates to thwart turnstile jumpers and metal platform barriers to prevent people from slipping onto cracks. National Guard soldiers on subway. Governor Kathy Hochul of New York has announced the deployment of 750 National Guard members to help police in the busiest stations of the city with back checks for commuters. with recent high-profile attacks on commuters and transport workers raising questions about the safety of the city's subway system. The move is meant to discourage criminality.
Expect to start seeing hundreds of National Guard members throughout the subway system conducting random bag checks.
Kathy Hochul announced her 5-point plan, including the deployment of hundreds of members of the National Guard.
Rather than having the NYPD have to work being paid by state dollars, I said, let me do something even better. Anyone looking to do harm or spread fear on our subways, you will be caught.
According to police data, there was a 15% decrease in crimes on the subway in February as compared to the same month in 2023. Democrat Hochul claiming that rattling off crime figures didn't claim commuters since it had a psychological effect. Although they don't have the authority to make arrests during peacetime, soldiers in the New York National Guard, a military organization under the joint command of federal and state authorities, will assist police officers who do. Following a spike in attacks and thefts in January, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, a Democrat who formerly worked as a police patrolman, deployed roughly 1,000 extra city police officers into the subway in February. He's underlined that despite seeing more than 4 million daily journeys on one of the biggest subway networks in the world, there are only roughly 6 felony crimes per day, the majority of which are thefts. An advocacy group for New York commuters, Riders Alliance, contended that Hochul's use of the National Guard will have the opposite psychological effect from what was intended. They brought up the attack on a subway train conductor last week, which was one of many attacks on subway employees in recent weeks and caused service interruptions the next morning.
Crime rate in New York on America's largest subway system, with millions of commuters and tourists riding every day.
You will be caught. Plain and simple. There will be consequences. This has to end.
Well, now, an extraordinary new approach by the governor there to bring down crime in the Big Apple.
Part of the plan the governor unveiled yesterday to combat the perception of rising subway crime.
National Guard troops are now on patrol in the city's subways. Why authorities took this move and what riders are already saying tonight.
In addition, Hochul declared that the MTA will equip conductor cabins with new surveillance cameras and requested that a bill enabling judges to bar individuals who abuse employees and riders from using the subway system be passed by the state government. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching and see you again next time.